So I've come up with quite an interesting topic. My topic is the value and power of words. Let's see if you're able to understand this or not. On 15th of August 1947, India made trust with destiny and a new nation was cemented. And in the next 3 minutes, 300 million lives were changed forever. Ladies and gentlemen, words have power. Not too far ago in this very nation, outside police stations and hospitals, it was written, dogs and Indians not allowed. And it wouldn't take too long. Decades later, an Indian man, along with his dog, will roam on the streets of London to become the very prime minister of the same country. Words lead to change. When Bhagat Singh was asked, why are you sacrificing your life for this country? Why aren't you living a life like a normal man with your family, with your life, enjoying every aspect of it? He inspired it in such beautiful words. He said, मेरी रूह से इस कदर वाकिफ है कलम मेरी, मैं इश्क भी लिखूं तो इनकलाब लिखा जाता है. History, ladies and gentlemen, is not written by victors or rulers or kings. It's written by ordinary people with extraordinary words. That is the power of words. And today, when I stand here with all of you listening to me, at this very moment, all of you have the most important tool in the history of human civilization. And no, it's not climate change. It's not artificial intelligence. It's not sitting in your pocket. It's not in your bank account. All of you are born with it for 24/7, 365 days of year, and it's right here. The power of communication that has changed the world. Allow me to explain you. Let me ask all of you, if I ask you, if there was a competition, the battle between a man and a tiger, who exactly is going to win? Well, I would presume, unless the man is a hero of a South Indian movie, the tiger is going to win, obviously. But let me rephrase that question. Imagine there was a war between 100,000 men and 100,000 tigers. And I can tell you with 100% guarantee, with all the anthropological and sociological data, humans are going to stay victorious. Why? Because of our ability to communicate across cross cultures. You know, a capitalist tiger in America cannot revolt against a communist tiger in China. But humans, with a simple button on the fingertips of their hand in North Korea, can decide the fate of this whole world. That is the power of communication. And today, honestly, we live in a very, very interesting time. And I want to tell you some instances where some words changed human civilization. 1963, a man said, I have a dream around of 250,000 people, and then changed the history of America. 1983, opened the gates, screamed millions of people in the gates of Berlin Wall, and millions of families that were separated for 27 years stopped. But, and I say this but in capital letters, I told you that you have a superpower. You can use nuclear energy to create wars or to create electricity. The same communication is also used by leaders to depredate. Fear from them, kill them. Hitler, 1939, led to deportation of 60 million Jews. That is also the power of communication, ladies and gentlemen. So the tool is in your hands. And interestingly, we are at a very interesting time in the history of India. Today, we produce more doctors and engineers in this country than the combined population of Denmark, Sweden, and Australia. We rank number 4th in GDP, number 5th in military, with more than 700 million people as the demographic dividend. Is this the time that we are becoming the Vishwaguru, the modern India? Well, I tell you, as Shashi Tharoor rightly says, India is a land of paradoxes, where everyone is in a hurry, but nobody is on time. We are a land of paradoxes, ladies and gentlemen. And let me share you those paradoxes. Here you can get a pizza delivery within 30 minutes, but ambulance still takes 30 hours to reach the villages of Bihar. We have reached the moon in search of water. Still, every day, More than 12 children die due to lack of safe drinking water. In this country, more than any part of the world, women are worshipped in temples, mosques, and churches. Yet, by the time I'm done here today, in the next 10 minutes, 3 women will be sexually molested in this country. The largest democracy, 40% of our politicians are convicted of a criminal case. We produce the largest amount of food grains, yet 30% of our population is unfed. You can stream 4K videos on your phone, still 40% of the schools in this country do not have electricity. And the most beautiful part today, with that smartphone in your hand, you can talk to anyone in this world. But to talk to your son sitting in the next room or to your father in the next corner has become the most difficult part of this civilization. That is the challenge that we face. And that is when I say paradoxes often lead to beautiful things. When Van Gogh spent all his life inside that asylum, nobody knew that his painting would inspire people for generations to come. And when asked, he replied, the starry night was not the painting that he saw, it was the painting that he dreamt. There is beauty in paradoxes. Malala Yousafzai went to the school with a bullet in her head, saying no to terrorists. Van Gogh painted in an asylum. Mandela spent 27 years in jail before his country could breathe the first air of freedom. J.K. Rowling went to the railway stations without any food before she discovered she would create the charming world of Harry Potter. Stephen Hawking was told that you have 2 years to live, and that man created time encapsulated in all of our lives for next 50 years to come. That is the power of words. And today, when I go from here, I want to ask you a simple question. What is your story? What will people remember you by? Will they remember you by someone who was kind, confident, who made this world a better place? Or would they remember you as someone who didn't have an impact? So that is why I say, use your voice as it's the most powerful tool created in the human history. When you see your mother or sister beaten in your house in close corners, raise your voice. When you see casual sexism and casteism happening, raise your voice. When you see yourself doubting your own ability, raise your voice. Because if we didn't, nothing in this world would have changed. Because there is a very beautiful saying, if you change nothing, nothing is going to change. But, and I say this but in capital letters, all of this is impossible without the collaborative efforts of human civilization. Why I say that? To quote a beautiful quote by Dr. Abdul Kalam, great nations or great civilizations are not made by handsome people, but by those who can give their hands to some who require that. That is the ability that we carry forward. So today, when I leave all of you, I want to end with a story. 10 years ago, when I started my journey as a communicator, I've anchored PM events, I've anchored president events, I've been to different parts of the world, but I failed to forget that story that 10 years ago that happened to me. During my first year of college, when I was doing internship, we got an opportunity to meet children who were sexually molested at a young age. I still remember those small, innocent eyes of that 6-year-old girl who would come to me with tears in her eyes, say, "Why do you look so familiar?" Just to let you a context, the girl was sexually molested by her own father at the age of 6. But the most beautiful part was when we were completing our internship and when we were going from that event, that girl held my hand with her small palms and said, "Sir, how will you remember my story? Will you tell me about other people? Will you tell other people about me?" And that day I realized humans are not humans. You're collections of stories told by your parents, society, people, your teachers, and what your life will be defined by is what sort of story you tell. The very girl, destiny decided her story to live in an NGO for the next 30 years of her life, but she said no. Today, the very girl that was molested at age 6 by her own father has started 17 different schools in different parts of the country that give education to sexually molested children. That is the power of communication. So as I leave you, because I don't have the palms of a little girl, but I do have the innocence in my eyes and hope of the human civilization. And I ask you, today, as words as communicators, you have a matchstick in your hand, my dear friends. You can use it to burn down a country or to light a candle that will prosper the civilizations for millennium to come. Thank you.